Welcome to the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Mullings. I'm an author, speaker, and marketing mentor, and I believe in the importance of women of faith in business stepping up and shining in their lane so they can have the impact, income, and influence they were born to make. Join me this season to hear the stories of powerful women of faith who have authored a purpose-driven book to make a difference in the world. And be sure to join the Women Faith Plus Business community on Facebook by going to nadinemullings.com/community. That's nadinemullings.com/community. See you in the powerful community of women of faith in business, and enjoy this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business podcast. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business podcast. I'm super excited to have my next guest with me, Meliza. Meliza is someone that I've met fairly recently. I don't even know how long it's been, maybe less than a year, Meliza. I feel like I've known you
About a
forever,
year.
but it
Yeah.
hasn't been that long. We had a connection through, I believe it was Sabrina that originally connected us together. And we've just been collaborating ever since. I've been in her Facebook group. I've been on her podcast. She's been on my events, and now she's on my podcast. So, and we're also behind the scenes doing a collaboration that's going to be announced probably in 2025. So I'm just excited to have this guest with me today because she's a super awesome and amazing person. So welcome to the podcast, Meliza.
Thank you, Nadine. I love doing anything with you. Your kindred spirit, and it's just such a wonderful blessing to be here on this podcast with you.
So I'm excited to chat with you today, Meliza, specifically about your book, Untangled. So this season on the podcast is all about authors that have authored and published a solo book. And I've heard so much about your book, Untangled, that I'm excited for us to really talk about it on this episode of the podcast. But before we get started, I also want to make sure that the audience knows more about you before we start talking about your book. So I'm going to share your official bio so we can know about how great Meliza is. So meet Meliza Farndell, the inspiring dynamo behind Paper Crown Media Limited, and a talented author with a drive to change lives. With boundless enthusiasm and a warm heart, Meliza is on a mission to help people break free from the chains of self-doubt. That's a big one. I struggle with that self-doubt and
Me
discover their
too.
true identity and purpose. She has a special gift for uplifting women, helping them see their infinite worth through the loving eyes of their heavenly Father. Meliza's writing spans a wide spectrum from profound nonfiction to delightful children's books, all infused with the transformative love of God. Proudly hailing from South Africa, she now calls the United Kingdom, where she lives with her supportive husband and two wonderful teenagers. Get ready to be inspired and empowered by Meliza's infectious passion and unwavering belief in the beauty, value, and life transforming power of every individual. Welcome again officially to the podcast, Meliza.
Oh, thank you so much, Nadine. It's awesome to be here.
All right. So, as I mentioned, the focus of our conversation today is all about the book Untangled. So, I want to read a little bit about the book before we start the conversation. I'm going to start off by reading the intro of the book.
Oh,
Are you continuously striving to please God, but feel like you are never good enough? Does it feel like God is holding out on you because you're not measuring up to his standard? Perhaps you even know that his love for you is unconditional, but you struggle to really believe that you are worth it. For many years, I heard about the love of God, but struggled to fully believe it. Tied up in lies I believed about myself and about God, I was imprisoned in a stronghold of fear, shame, and condemnation. until one day when I walked into a cinema and came face to face with the Father and the heart of God. Encountering the love of God started a process of getting untangled from the lies that kept me stuck. In my book, Untangled, I share pieces of my heart, my story, and the revelation of truth that set me free. I also share practical truths that, if applied, I guarantee will do the same for you. As you read these pages, I pray that the words will become alive in your heart. May you encounter the God who is the author of your story. May his love set you free so that you can become all that he created you to be. Meliza. I love that because it's a letter to your reader, right? Before you
Yes.
even open the book, if you're reading the book or looking at it on Amazon, this is what you read about the description of the book. So Meliza chose to write a letter to the audience about the book. So as we all know, in order to write a book, you have to be inspired, and we kind of get a glimpse of what that inspiration was for you. But that encounter that you had in the cinema was something that you could have kept to yourself. You know, it could have been a transformative moment between you and God, right? But you chose to actually write a book, and not just write a book, but publish a book for the world to read it. So I'd love for you to share with the audience what inspired you to actually go ahead and go through the process of writing it and publishing it so the world could read it. So what was the inspiration for the book? Are you a woman of faith in business who has a desire to get more clients, make a difference, and make a huge impact in the world? Nadine Mullings Marketing Agency helps women of faith in business develop a marketing strategy so they can market their book, brand, or business with clarity and confidence so they can acquire clients with ease and flow. Call us at 954-947-7510 or reach us at nadinemullings.com.
Well, I had that encounter with God in the cinema that drastically changed my life. And I knew that this was too good not to share. I felt like the woman at the well that just couldn't hurry. She just needed to hurry back and tell everybody about the God who knew her, the God who she met and encountered at the well. And I had that same experience because I everything was so different in me that I just needed to go and tell everybody. But it actually took a long process of unpacking that encounter with God before I started writing my book. Between writing the book and or having the encounter and writing the book, there was nearly a decade. Yes, and I had several prophetic words of people who didn't even know me who would walk up to me and say, "You have a book that you need to write." I had in my quiet times with God, really had some moments of Him speaking to my heart about writing and about sharing this experience that had happened to me. But I didn't know anything about writing a book. So there was a process of not just unpacking that encounter, but then really going on a journey to find out how do I package this information in a way that's really going to help my reader. When I first set out to write my story, I thought it was just about the story, but I soon learned that it's about the reader. And that's why I wrote that letter to the reader as well, because this is why we do what we do as authors. This is why we show up, because we have something that's going to be life transforming for someone else. So it's knowing who it is that you were called to reach and the power that's in your story that's going to unlock them from the prison that they feel they are stuck in.
Yeah, I love that, Meliza. The power of your story is transformative. Sometimes we don't even realize or believe or understand how transformative that our stories are. And I love that you shared that it was a process. I like the analogy of the woman at the well, but when we think about the woman of the well, she was immediately spreading the word, right? Immediately once she met Jesus, she's like, I had met a man who told me everything about myself. She went back out there and she spread the word immediately. But you explained for you, it took a process. You had to unpack that encounter for yourself. You had to process what it means. You have to process, how to package it into a way that you can share it with other people. So sometimes it's not as immediate as just sharing it like the woman at the well, but when you're doing it in a book form and a published book form, you have to process it for yourself first, like Meliza said, and then go through the process of how do I now package it in a way that now I can spread it, just like the woman at the well, so other people can experience God, experience what you experience, and the transformation that it led for you and your life. So I love that. So when you decided to package up the book, and it took that decade of getting it to the point that it is that you're ready to publish it, what made you decide on the things that you want to share versus the things that you didn't necessarily share? Because maybe there were some parts of the encounter that was personal that didn't get included in the book. And you talk about, the practical things that you include in the book. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about the content, what's in the book, and what made you decide to put those parts of it in the book, and were there parts of it that you had in the encounter that you didn't share in the book?
Yes. And I know this is a big thing for people who have stories, especially people who've experienced trauma, and there's other people involved, and there can be sensitive subjects and issues. When I initially wrote my manuscript, I wrote about every single detail of my life. Basically, what happened is my husband bought me a laptop for my birthday in 2018. And he said, enough is enough. You've been told to write a book. Now go and write the book. And I opened up the laptop and I just started writing. And I literally wrote my entire life story from day one to all the way to where I was at the time, and with all the revelations that I received from God, with all the stories, with all the pivotal moments. And I ended up with a manuscript that was about 60,000 words uh, long. And
Yeah,
I
that's a
thought,
lot. That is a lot.
yes. And I thought, man, I am awesome. This is done. The job is done. I'm going to publish this baby. And, everybody's just going to buy my book because it's such an incredible story. So I shared this manuscript with a few people, only a few at the beginning. And I didn't get the best feedback. And I didn't really understand why they didn't think my manuscript was as awesome as I thought it was. And I did get a little bit deflated. So I locked the manuscript away for a while. And about 9 months later, a friend of mine sent me a message, and she said, I saw this mentoring program and I immediately thought of you, and I think you should go and attend this training and then go and write and publish your book. So I signed up for this course, and I learned so much. And the biggest lesson I learned is that my story wasn't really about me as much as it was about the reader. And it's really understanding what they need to get from my story that is important. So when you meet someone, you don't hear their entire life story in one go. That's quite overwhelming, right? So when we when we meet people for the first time, we share the things that are relevant to the conversation and to where we are in our journey. So I had to go back and think, right, what is my reader experiencing right now? Where are they? What are their pain points? What are the things that they're really frustrated with? And I actually needed to go back and remember who I was before my encounter with God. What were the things that I was really grappling with, that I was struggling with, that was making my heart hurt? So in that process of going through all of that, this message, this manuscript took on a form of its own. And I also have to say, with the help of the Holy Spirit, I started to see a blueprint unfold as I was digging through all of this information. And at the end of the day, I had to ask my Heavenly Father, what do you want to say to the reader? And the manuscript really became a love letter from the Father's heart to the reader. I really felt like God wanted people to know who they are. So when you open the book, you'll see even the titles will speak directly to the reader, and it will tell them who the Father says they are. So you are loved, you are free, you are, um, you know, strong, all the things that our hearts need to hear. Because what I've learned in my journey after this encounter is that it was only the very beginning of becoming untangled and walking in freedom. And the only way to become untangled was really to hear the voice of the Father and let Him speak the truth into your heart, because that transformation comes from the inside out. And so many times, I know for myself, and I share this in my book as well, I spent so many years trying to fix the problem or what I thought was the issue in my life. But at the end of the day, it was my heart that needed healing. It was my heart that needed fixing. And I couldn't do that. Only God can fix the heart. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does, it does. I love it. So many things that I just want to highlight real quick. First of all, thank God for a supportive husband, right? It's
Yes.
like he knew that you
Amen.
needed to write this book, and he's like, okay, what's the first step? Let's get her a laptop. Let's get her something
Yes.
to write it down, right? So thank God for a supportive husband. And then the second part was like sometimes and I can't even imagine sitting down and writing my entire life story. So 6,000, was it 6,000 words? Or
60,000.
six
Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. But really sharing that, like the example that you gave about, when you go to, I was picturing anyways, when you go to a party and you meet someone and they're like, hi, my name's Meliza. I was born in 19, and then start telling your whole life story. And you're like, okay, that's weird. That probably was the experience of people reading the original manuscript because there was so much in it, right? And I love that your friend gave you the resource. I find a lot of times in life, it's those supportive people in your life, like family members and friends, that give you the right resources or the right connection to keep you on the path. So God starts you off on the path, and He provides the resources and people to help you through the process. So I feel like, your friend introducing you to that mentor that helps you to really make the manuscript better by thinking about it from the author's perspective and what the author will need. And then the content of the book of really understanding God's heart for us and who we are, because we can get so caught up in the lies of the world. You're not worthy, you're not this, you're not, and the negative talk in our head. So to know that this book helps us to untangle those things from the inside out. So we start on the inside and really understanding God's love for us through each one of the titles in the book is powerful. So I love everything that you shared about the process and how you got to this point with the published Untangled and what the content is for the book. So powerful and so important. So I'd love for you to share the vision. So once it was published, did you have a vision of what you wanted the book to do, how you wanted the book to help, how many people you wanted to reach? What was the overall vision for the book once it was published?
Well, Nadine, I wish I could give you a clear answer here. And now that I'm standing on the other side of publishing, I realize how important it is to have a vision even before you start. And I was blessed to have, my in my relationship with God, God gave me a word, He gave me a picture. I knew, He specifically told me, wake up my sleeping beauties. And I had this incredible vision whilst I was praying one day, just about seeing ruins restored. And that really carried me through the difficult times because I knew there was a purpose behind the book, and it wasn't just me sharing my story for the sake of sharing it. But it was only after I published the book that I realized that you need to kind of have a vision for where you want this message to go. It's so important. And I just didn't. I just wanted the book to fly off the shelf by itself. So in afterthought, I started to just really share my story in as many places as I possibly could. Thank God He connected me with some incredible people who knew how to not just how to get the message out there, but encourage me and let me know that this message is worth sharing. Because I think for so many authors, they write their books, they publish their books, and then it's now what? What do I do with this message? How do I steward this message? So having a strategy and a plan and a vision is incredible. It really helps getting the message out there and into the hands of the people who need it.
Exactly. I love that, Meliza. And you are so not alone. I've asked that question to many authors, even behind the scenes outside of my podcast, just doing market research. What was the vision? What was the vision? And a lot of them didn't really have clarity around the vision, right? So sometimes God reveals the vision, or you see things, like you said, you saw things and how it could be helpful. But sometimes it's revealed step by step as you continue and you go on the process and the vision becomes clearer. God reveals more to you. So that's not uncommon, I feel, for a lot of authors to actually say, hey, I didn't really step into or fully understand the vision in the beginning, but God continues to reveal it. But I love what you said about stewarding the message. I think that is so key when we're given a message that we feel so strongly enough that we're going to put it in a book and not only just write it, but we're going to publish it. Then it's something we need to steward. And I think there's definitely gap in the market from like, okay, now the book's published to now how do I fully steward that message and make sure it's being shared in many ways. And so I can reach the people that this message is actually intended for. So I love that, you had that assistance with people helping you to steward the message and keep the message out there in the marketplace. So since we're talking about the message, I'd love for you to share if there was one word or one phrase that you want the reader to take away from this book, what would that word or phrase be that you would want the person to take away after reading the book? What would you say that one word or one phrase would be?
Well, there is a scripture actually, John 8:32, that says, as we take the truth into ourselves. I love the Passion Translation. It talks about really as we get the truth into ourselves, it releases more freedom into our life.
Mm.
And for me, it really is that not just the truth that we know that sets us free, but really the truth we encounter, the truth we experience, the truth we make an active part in our life that starts to set us free. Um, and for me, the one thing I want the reader to know is that they are so deeply, deeply loved. My biggest struggle in life was a result of not understanding the heart of God and understanding his incredible compassion towards me, because I was so full of self doubt and self condemnation and self judgment. I just always felt like I was lacking in every area of my life. And I thought God was frustrated with me or angry or, just a little bit tired of hearing about all my issues. But when I saw the face of the Father in that movie, Tangled, the movie, the cinema moment that kind of broke my walls down, that was the moment when everything shifted for me, was encountering the love of God. And that's my prayer for every single person that reads that book, is that they will encounter the love of God, because that is the most transformative power on this planet.
Yeah, I agree totally. Encountering the love of God and understanding and knowing that you are deeply loved by God and that the truth will set you free. I think that's key because when you're not in the truth and you're binded up with the lies and, everything else, then you're tangled up, right? So to understand the truth will set you free, you'll have freedom and you're deeply loved is the message that we really want people to take away from Untangled. So I love that you shared that. So if people want to purchase Untangled, we've talked a lot about it, the message, the backstory. What would be the best way for them to purchase Untangled?
The best way is to get it from Amazon. Um, it's on all the platforms and worldwide on all the marketplaces. So, yeah, that's the best place to go.
Awesome. Love it. Get it on Amazon Untangled. And if people want to connect with you and learn more about the work that you do in the world and how you help individuals, what would be the best way for them to connect with you?
They can connect on my website, melizafarndell.com, or you can go to all my social media handles are Meliza Farndell Author. And then I also have my Paper Crown Media business. And yeah, check out Paper Crown Media Limited on social media.
Awesome. I love that. So connect with Meliza on her personal website and also connect with Paper Crown. And tell us a little bit about Paper Crown and
Mhm.
exactly what the company does with Paper Crown. I'd love for people to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so um, Paper Crown Media was really born from that same encounter of becoming untangled. God kind of led me on a journey and helped me to help other people share their stories as well. So, Paper Crown Media is a platform. We've got a subscription that helps people to write, publish, and promote their books. And it's a great community, especially for those who are very new to writing and publishing to uh, to start. We like to give people options that suit their needs and help them either self-publish or publish with Paper Crown Publishing.
I love that. So if you're looking to write, publish, and promote your book, definitely check out Paper Crown Media for more information about how they support and serve you in that area. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation, Meliza. Thank you so much for being on the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. Thank you for listening to the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. I hope this episode has been insightful and inspiring and has offered you an opportunity to take action to transform your life and your business. Wherever you are listening, be sure to rate and review the podcast and also subscribe to get the next episode right in your inbox by going to womenfaithandbusiness.com to join our email list.